What I hope to share with you is some of the ways one writer put together his work. But in order to do this, I will also have to talk about Florida. Now this will be a Florida some people know, but most people don't know. And it will be a Florida based on the research and writing of several novels. Now one of these novels, A Land Remembered, which covers 110 years of Florida pioneer life, 1858 to 1968, has brought some unexpected reactions to me, both here in Florida and elsewhere. Well, you can't do what I did for those other novels. You can't go out and live among people who were on this earth 150 or more years ago in order to get to know them well enough to write about them, unless you've got a time machine, which I so happen not to have. So I had to go about that research in a different way. The research alone for that novel took a period of more than 2 years. I read about 60 books about Florida, took pounds and pounds of notes. And from all those things I read, I found a lot of things about Florida that were of real interest to me. Things I knew I wanted to put into that novel, like the Battle of Olustee in the Civil War, the birth of the cattle industry, the birth of the citrus industry, the coming of the railroads, that great freeze in 1895 that almost destroyed this entire state, that land boom in Miami in the 1920s, that 1926 hurricane that almost blew Miami right off the map, that 1928 hurricane that swept over Lake Okeechobee and drowned more than 2,000 people in less than 2 hours. But I wasn't really interested in historical facts, you know, dates, times, places, that sort of thing. You can find that in a history book. What I really wanted to know was, how did these things affect people? How did they survive? Why did those pioneers come to Florida in the first place when it was such a wilderness? What were they looking for? What were their hopes? What were their dreams? How did they really live back in those pioneer days? And that's the sort of thing you cannot find in a history book. So most of that novel is told through memories. Some my own, but mostly the memories of other people. You know, those old pioneer people that live not just here in Florida in the 19th century and all on the way up into the 20th century, but everywhere, they were some kind of tough people. Their lives were very, very hard. And if they hadn't been so determined to survive and had given up, a lot of us wouldn't be here today. And those people saw a lot of things that to them were absolute miracles. Things that all of us today just take for granted. Can you imagine the look in their eyes the first time they ever saw someone turn on an electric light bulb? The first time they ever saw any kind of electric appliance like a simple refrigerator? Can you imagine the look in their eyes the first time they saw a train engine or an automobile or an airplane? The first time they ever turned on a radio and listened to voices come out of that radio? The first time they ever picked up a telephone and listened to a voice coming from a mile away or 1,000 miles away? You know, back then, there were no supermarkets, none. There were no convenience stores. So everything those people had to have to sustain life came from the land and from nature. they had to take their entire lives from the land. If they had not been able to do so, if they had quit, like I said, a lot of us would not be here today. So I have a great, great admiration for those people. Some of the happiest times I've had in Florida, and I've been in all levels of society here, some of the happiest times have been out there in one of those old pioneer houses, eating collard greens and cornbread and black-eyed peas and ham hocks, chicken and dumplings, fresh baked peach cobbler, and all that sort of thing. It's really, really been an experience.